Well, greetings to you. A word today about central banks. Central banks, as I've explained before, are the lender of last resort for the commercial banks, so that if a commercial bank goes down, the central bank steps in, sometimes not always, to rescue it. Who underwrites the central bank? The taxpayer. The governors of all banks, central banks, are political appointees. Doesn't matter whether it's the Fed, the ECB, the Bank of England, Bank of Japan. They're all political stooges. And so how do they get their money to bail out commercial banks, so on and so forth? Well, they just print it. They print it, and of course, the more the print, the more it's degraded. So you're getting bankers going out of business, and they're being propped up by artificial printing of money, which degrades currency in its own right. And of course, banks are going down all the time. Most of them are being privately rescued. We just seen the most recent one was Metro Bank. So they're all extremely dodgy, and I've been saying this for 10 years. Rather more than 10 years now, I think probably 15 years. So we know they're dodgy. We know that the end is nigh. And so these central banks are acquiring as much gold as they can, these central banks, because they know that international settlements in gold will always be available to them. So gold is your ultimate strategic store of wealth, and central banks know that. And some people say, oh, well, how can I buy a pound of butter or a bottle of beer with gold? Well, of course you don't. And when sovereigns came in just after the Battle of Waterloo in 1816, 17, of course, people bought their bottle of beer and so on and so forth with coppers or silver threepenny bits or whatever it happened to be. And of course, that was linked to the price of gold. So gold was your ultimate store of wealth, but you actually traded on a daily basis in a much smaller unit of currency, and that will come again. So we know whatever that currency might be, digital, whatever it happens to be, you'll buy your bottle of beer and your bits and pieces in that currency. What I'm talking about now is a store of wealth for your family. And I'm counseling people, and I have done for some years now, to store wealth in the same way that central banks are doing it. It takes your money off the table. Your gold coins, your Britannias or your sovereigns, takes the money off the table, out of the bank and out of paper currency. Bad times are coming. Bad times are coming. More banks will be going under. There'll be bigger pressure. The big debts can't be paid. Trillions and trillions of dollars in America, over £1 trillion worth of debts here in this country, and the ECB, so on and so forth, Bank of Japan. It's all going wrong, and there's very little you can do about it except preserve what wealth you have for your family off the table. Bitcoin today, for example, said, or Ferrari said they'd accept Bitcoin for Ferrari. So those young men who've made plenty of money on Bitcoin can actually start to spend it. But it's still not a full medium of exchange. I hope it is. I'm a supporter of Bitcoin up to a point, and I think that's good. And I hope it becomes a more easy medium of exchange. But if you're trying to preserve wealth that you made in later years in your life, in the autumn perhaps of your lives or late middle age, the safe game, the insurance game, is coin of the realm, gold coin of the realm. No capital gains tax, no VAT. I have an arrangement with Pure Gold that they will buy back any coins that you purchase with them at spot. Now, when you buy coins from the raw mint, doesn't matter, you buy and you pay a 2 or 3% premium over spot price, the agreed world price. And when you want to sell it back to them, they will buy at spot price -3. So you get 2 or 3% turn again, like a unit trust or so on and so forth. So it's good if you've got Pure Gold that you know that your exit strategy means you won't have to pay any form of tariff for your exit strategy when that day comes. And you should only be buying for the long term. It isn't a short-term game. It's not get rich quick. So that's really what I recommend to you. Be very wary of anybody who's saying, you could have doubled your money if you bought gold in the last 5 years, blah, 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 and all that kind of. That's not the point of gold. That's not the point. It's a strategic store of wealth. It's to put away, it's to hide away until you're dribbling down your cardigan and you need care, and there's no national health, there's no care home or whatever it is. or your children get into big trouble, or your grandchildren get into big trouble, and you need to bail them out. Something of that nature, but it's a strategic store of wealth. Do what the central banks are doing. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for you. So spend a bit of time on that website. You'll find all the answers there. It's the most comprehensive website now in the country, and it explains everything, warts and all. Warts and all. There's no wonderful system to actually protect you, but you can get quite close to a full protection of your wealth and your family if you think about it and pay a bit of attention and do a bit of homework. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.